Few more stories about Africa before I wrap up. The U.S. bombed Somalia for a second time in the week. It's reported that these are the first two airstrikes, at least the first two airstrikes carried out by the U.S. military against Somalia under the the Biden administration. Both times they claim to be targeting al-Shabaab and only killing civilians. Who knows that this is actually true? Under the Trump administration, we saw time and time again the administration would say we're, only killing al-Shabaab, we're only killing al-Shabaab. But anytime any actual reporting came out of it, it turned out that a hell of a lot of civilians were being killed. In Tunisia, the president fired the prime minister, dismissed the parliament, and this is really key because Tunisia was one of the states that post Arab Spring came out freer and less violent than before. And so, the Arab Spring actually gets kicked off in Tunisia. The longtime dictator there, Ben Ali, is overthrown in a popular revolution. In 2014, they set up a democratic constitution that split powers between the president, prime minister, and parliament. And now they have the new president of the country, Kais Saied, saying that he has essentially assumed all control over the government. Both sides are saying that basically the other is acting inappropriately according to the Constitution. It seems to me that, based on what I could see, the president is definitely abusing power here, but, I'm not there to make a call. This did warrant some pretty major protest in Tunisia, and all the Western media coverage I'm seeing has been that the protesters are anti the president's decision. Maybe this is a guy usurping power from a budding democracy. It could also be that this is just the Western media's narrative, and that's what's being reported in the English-speaking press so far. But it does seem that, there are some protesters who are upset with the president's decision. Last up here, we're talking about Mali, where a couple months ago we had another coup, where we now have interim president Assimi Golita as again the interim president, and somebody tried to kill him, and that person just died in the hospital in the custody of security forces. I mean, who knows? Maybe he tried to kill the president, took a couple bullets, bled out over a week, and died. That kind of thing happens. It could also be that he was gonna pull through, and the president's security forces said, "Nah, you don't take a run at our guy, and then get to live to tell the tale about it or something like that." So that still a mess in Mali, and of course all these situations are I think largely, well, first a result of the U.S. intervention. I mean, it was the WikiLeaks, the State Department cables released by Chelsea Manning, given to WikiLeaks, published by Julian Assange, that sparked the Arab Spring, that showed to the people of Africa that their leaders were not concerned at all for them, but were essentially bought and paid for by Western governments and were there to enrich themselves in the West. And between that and the protests that resulted from that and the Arab Spring spreading, but then particularly the U.S. intervention in Libya, killing Gaddafi, and spreading this terrorist nightmare throughout West Africa and the Sahel region is largely why you have the instability that you have now in Mali, Nigeria, where hundreds of people are being kidnapped. Nigeria, I think you had 2 attacks in the past week where over 10 people died. People on motorbikes show up in a village, start shooting, killing people, stealing everything, then taking off. Burkina Faso, a country that didn't have a jihadist problem until recently, still has a massive jihadist problem. Of course, there was recently a coup in Chad. All these countries have been touched by the U.S. war in Libya, and actually to point out, 57 attempted refugees just drowned in the Mediterranean trying to sail from Libya to Italy. And so these are just more consequences of Obama's disastrous war in that country.